Okay, we're ready.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Welcome everyone to today's Knowledge Exchange. Today's panel discussion topic is certificate, certification, and academic degrees. And I'm joined today by our wonderful panelists, Lisa Meloncon, Craig Baehr, and Susan Lang. Next slide, Erin. I also want to introduce myself. I'm Liz Poland. I'm STC's Chief Executive Officer, and I'm here today with Erin Galilee, who's the Director of Membership and Community Relations, and also on staff, but not joining us for this panel, is Elaine Gillum, Director of Meetings and Convention Operations. So if you need us for anything, we are the people to contact. So let me introduce the panelists real quick. First of all, Dr. Craig Baehr. He is an STC Fellow, the CPTC Chief Examiner, accredited professional trainer, an instructional designer, a published author with more than 25 years of technical communication experience. He serves as immediate past president on the STC Board of Directors. He is the Chief Examiner for the Certified Professional Technical Communicator Program and chair of the Certification Committee. He's also the board liaison for the Education and TC BOC committees. Craig has also authored 3 books: Web Development, A Visual Spatial Approach, Writing for the Internet, A Guide to Real Communication in Virtual Space, and The Agile Communicator, Principles and Practices in Technical Communication. He also serves as associate editor on the editorial board of IEEE Transactions on Professional Communication. He has worked both in academia as professor and graduate director of technical communication at Texas Tech University, and in industry as a technical writer, editor, a web developer, and program director for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Craig, thank you for being here with us today. My next panelist is Dr. Susan Lang. She is professor of English and director of the Center for the Study and Teaching of Writing, a research and student faculty support center at The Ohio State University. Susan has extensive experience in teaching online and hybrid courses in technical communication, including courses in technical editing, usability, and web design at both undergraduate and graduate levels. Her recent research includes work on hypertext theory, writing program administration, data and text mining, and technical editing. She is published in multiple magazines and journals, including Computers and Composition, College English, College Composition and Communication, and our own journal, Technical Communication. She is currently the editor of the Journal of Writing Analytics. At The Ohio State University, she directs the Center for the Study and Teaching of Writing and teaches both in English and chemistry, where she co-teaches a course on scientific writing to doctoral students. And thank you for being here, Dr. Lang. I love your background, but we all know you're not in Rome, right? And also, Dr. Lisa Meloncon is a professor of technical and professional communication. Lisa specializes in rhetoric and health and medicine, disability studies, and programmatic issues in technical and professional communication. Her award-winning research has appeared in journals such as Technical Communication Quarterly, Technical Communication, and the Journal of Technical Writing and Communication, as well as many other places. Lisa is the founder and coordinator of the biennial Rhetoric of Health and Medicine Symposium, and her research includes work with disability and embodiment, and historical study of vernacular healing, and understanding the impact of place on healthcare and communication. Lisa's programmatic work in technical and professional communication examines curricula as a way to define the field, and she was the first in the field to examine the status of contingent faculty. She has also started to look closely at research methodologies in the field to include the ethics and practices of research study design. Wow, I'm really impressed with the 3 of you, and I'm so glad you could be here with us today because your backgrounds are really going to be relevant to today's discussion. So let's start off by talking about what the differences are, or maybe the similarities too, between the things we're talking about today. There's often some confusion between what an academic degree is versus a certificate versus a certification. So I'll start with you, Lisa. And of course, right as you take a sip of water, how about you define for us what academic degrees are?
Academic degrees are those things that you pay for at a college or university They're either 2 or 4 years in length. They will appear in an official transcript that you can hand to employers to validate that you did that curriculum. And in general, academic degrees are going to be different from certificates and certifications in the fact that most of our degree programs are still based on liberal arts education, which means you're going to have a period of time you're going to do general education before you move into your major requirements.
Excellent, a nice nutshell. So next I'll call on Susan. How would you define a certificate program?
Sure, I would call a certificate program really the smallest chunk of any kind of academic program you can take at a 2 or 4 year or university. Our certifications are normally 12 to 15 hours. The certificate or the certificate, as opposed to a degree program, is really focused on the skills of whatever you are getting that certificate in. So while Lisa mentioned that you are doing a 4-year degree and you are doing other things, a certificate, if you choose one of those as an option, is going to be focused on the skills that you need for the job or for the field you want to be part of. So they are normally shorter in length. Our 4-course certificate you could do in a year's time, and you could do that as part of your degree program here at Ohio State, or you could just do these certificate courses.
Right, I often think of it as a certificate of completion. So you've taken a certain path or even just one course and you get a certificate to show that you completed the course.
Right, although most of the certificates at the academic level are going to be multiple course units. I don't know of any right now that are fewer than 3 courses, although I have heard as few as 3.
Right, and I guess I'm thinking of STC's courses where you get a certificate after you just take one, so very similar. Okay, Craig, how about the certification? You're the expert in this topic.
So certification is a professional portable career credential that has value in every sector in which technical communicators work. It's usually exam-based. It demonstrates your knowledge, skills, and abilities in the 9 core competencies of technical communication, and also your performance capabilities in following standards of practice in the field. One of its perks is that it's a validation, just as Lisa said, an academic degree is one type of validation, certification is another kind, by an external and accredited third-party vendor. That's something that's portable, again, that you can take with you from one job to the next, or one professional organization to the next, and it still has value, whether you're seeking a job or you're seeking advancement or demonstrating leadership potential, or even demonstrating your commitment to continuing education and keeping your knowledge and skills current in the field as they evolve.
Great. I think that really helps to have those definitions and explanations before we get going here. So my first question is, what do you find to be the top benefits of pursuing technical educational opportunities? And why should individuals consider pursuing an academic degree, a certificate, or a certification? Susan, I'll start with you.
Well, the best reason I have comes from the fact that nothing we do in this field stays static over a long period of time. You may have some very fundamental skills in writing and communication, but to stay up with new technologies, new ways of communicating, you need to keep an eye on opportunities that are out there. If you have a degree already, or maybe multiple degrees in technical communication, you might be looking most often at what STC or other organizations have to offer you, because you may find that you just need to get up to speed on one specific thing. If you're thinking about moving from technical communication in one industry to another, you might be looking at opportunities that help you. For example, if you want to go work for Boeing or Airbus or any of the other aircraft manufacturers, you might be doing some work there, not only to get some content knowledge of the aircraft field, but you might also need to know what are the standards now for that particular industry.
Great, thank you very much. Craig, how about you? What do you say to this question?
So I'll add just by saying that, the educational opportunities are like building blocks. Everybody builds their career credentials in different ways. So these are all things that we're talking about, all things that you can pick and choose to position yourself for the career goals that you have, whether that's building knowledge and skills in the core competencies. Maybe you're working in project planning or visual communication or content management, or you're writing and editing, whatever sector or whatever specialization or set of specializations that you want to best represent what you want to do. This is, really something that you can customize to your own desires and your own goals. Educational opportunities allow you to add those credentials, add those blocks as you build your career and your resume, whether it's a degree or it's a certificate program or it's a training course that you take in an organization you work for, or training courses or webinars you take through professional organizations like STC. The great thing about all these things is they're portable, right? You build them up and they represent who you are professionally, and you can take them with you wherever you go.
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, I really like the building blocks idea. And I think what I love about professional development and education is that there are ways to mix it so that you really stand out. You mentioned resumes. You stand out against competition for jobs, and it makes it a differentiator when you are applying for jobs, how you decide to go after different opportunities. Okay, Lisa, how do you answer the question?
I would take a step back that an academic degree is going to give you the foundational skills and competencies that you need, such as different ways of approaching theory to practice in communication, modes of communication, basic design skills, and a variety of others. And then you can use certificates and certifications to keep building that as your career changes or advances, or you need to shift industries. The great thing about technical and professional communication is folks can be in all different sorts of industries. And what we tell students oftentimes is when they ask, well, what can I do with this degree? And we say anything. There's some truth to that, because the diversity of job titles and what folks do is just amazing to me, and always has been. And so the degree program is just the foundation. And then these other things you can, as we've said, we can add building blocks to and continuously do the professional development. Like Susan was saying, when things change, technologies update. When Adobe puts out a new creative suite and a lot of things change, you got to go and do something to refresh those sorts of skills. So, but the degree program, foundational.
And I'll jump in and just add that sometimes you can do these things concurrently, right? Some academic programs have integrated, for example, professional certificate programs or even professional certification as part of their curriculum. So some students are starting to graduate from academic institutions with, say, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree plus a certification. So you can do these things all at the same time if you so choose and you have the time and the resources.
Right. And I see in the chat, Leah Gurin has said that, this really gives people a significant advantage, especially in certain fields. So very good points from all of you. Okay, my next question. What recommendations do you have for those looking for additional educational opportunities? How and where should they look? And are there other types of valuable education worth pursuing? And Lisa, I know you've done a lot of work in this area, so I'm going to start with you.
You have to know what you want and what you're good at and what you like and what you hate. And all of those are big, huge sort of existential questions, but you got to start figuring those out, because where you start with your degree or professional development work is pretty much going to be based on what your next step of your career or your first step, what do you want to look like? So for example, a lot of academic programs have an emphasis in things like content management or content strategy. But if that's not your thing, you can also find a certificate program or pick and choose your electives to where you might want to do more visual or design-based sorts of things. And so you really need to know who you are and kind of what you want. And if you can't figure those two out, then go to the exact opposite. Start with what are the things you absolutely hate. So for example, I hate editing, which is weird considering how much I've edited in my career, but it's not my thing. And if I were to start my career over today, I probably wouldn't do a lot of editing. So I'm not going to focus on those skills through certification or professional development or an academic degree program that has a lot of emphasis in editing. I just don't care where the comma goes, honestly. So know yourself.
Okay, I like it. Craig, how about you?
So your opportunities are not always going to be internal to wherever you're at. If you're in an organization, you're working full-time, or if you're in an academic institution, you're going to have, in a lot of cases, opportunities outside of your organization as well for training and development. Conferences, for example, professional conferences, there are lots of them in technical communication, great way to network, to meet other people, learn new skills. Short courses and webinars, right? A lot of professional organizations offer those. I mentioned those previously that STC has, but there are other organizations that have them as well that help you sort of build your knowledge in the field. Joining professional organizations is a big thing. It's a great way. It's a gateway to a lot of opportunities professionally, a lot of volunteer opportunities or a lot of project-based opportunities. For example, one of the things I do is I serve on the education committee at STC. Well, we have people on the committee who, have some background, but it's a great way for them to volunteer and to get some experience in that area in instructional design for TechCom outside of their day-to-day job or outside of their day-to-day study. So I think those are some options for people to consider.
Great, thank you. And Lisa, I meant to ask you when you were talking, if you would put in the chat the link to the research you're doing on all the programs, so that we have it on the STC website, but I thought if you're attending this session, you might especially be interested in what she's been doing about collecting all the data, because there are a lot of programs, academic programs out there in the field, and Lisa's done some really, really impressive research on that. So Susan, back to you. How would you talk about where to find educational opportunities?
In thinking about this, there are so many ways we could customize this. Are you new to the field? Have you had a job for a few years, but you feel like, gosh, I need to do something more? Something I saw actually in Intercom in the January-February issue, the current issue, is Jennifer Good's What's Trending in TechCom Job Ads. I would look, if you're thinking, I need something, I want something, I'm not sure what it is, I would take a look at resources like this article that talk about things that are showing up. It's content analysis of only 1 month of job ads right now, but I think they're going to build on this. But take a look, see what is trending in instructional design versus technical communication versus usability. And you might say, my undergraduate program or whatever professional training I've had has been great in that in one area, but I feel like I'm lacking in another. That's another way to start thinking about, hey, I could go look for this targeted opportunity. I think one of the hardest things for people to do right now is say, I need training, but I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with it or what is marketable out there. So I would look at, even if you're not planning to move jobs, I would look at job ads. I would see what's trending out there and see what kind of offerings are available through STC and other places. Or if you are near a certification program through a university, a 2-year school, 4-year school, check those out as well. There may also be continuing ed opportunities, single course certificates through institutions too that are not simply noted as TechCom, but might be noted as usability or UX or something.
Yeah, I think other associations, that are more specifically focused, like UXPA, for example, would be one that might be offering something. So I really, I appreciate that. I'm just checking the chat. I see a couple of comments and questions, but I think you guys are addressing them as they come along. So thank you for that. Okay, so let's look at our next question, which is, many of STC's frequently asked questions are from individuals who are looking for ways to advance their experience and ask specific advice about what education they should pursue. And while I know this is usually very specific to the individual, as Lisa sort of addressed already, what general advice can you provide about selecting an appropriate educational opportunity? For example, how do we define and establish personal goals related to education so that we can get the most out of our experience? Craig, you want to start?
Sure. I just was responding to a question about policies and procedures. Someone that had just finished a bachelor's and a master's was interested in that. So I recommended the policies and procedures SIG that STC has. So here's one way to answer Liz's question is reach out to communities of experts in the area that you're interested in, such as SIGs or professional organizations. SIGs is a special acronym for special interest group, community of people that usually they have a Slack channel, they have email communication, they have a website, network and start the conversation with those kinds of people that are in that area. STC's communities are very friendly. They're very welcoming. So don't be afraid to just jump in, introduce yourself and ask your questions. What's available? What can I do? Let's see, I've mentioned some of these other things already about academic programs integrating, some of the different core competencies into their existing curriculum. If that's your goal is to become professionally certified, research the program and see if it offers the credential or the material or the background that you're interested in. Not all TechCom programs and certificate programs are the same. So make sure you do your homework and decide it's really what you want first. If you really want a place that's TechCom, that's very heavy in technology training and tool training, then make sure you research that and find a program that has those specialized skills. But yeah, I can't underestimate the value of those professional networks. No matter what level your career is at, you can join professional organizations and meet people outside of your normal sphere of influence. And those people can often provide you with some great resources.
I'm glad you mentioned networking because one of our next knowledge exchange panels is going to be on networking and how to build your network and how to really use it, as opposed to, yeah, I've collected all these names on social media, but what do I do with them now? So I'm glad you mentioned that. Aaron, I know you're in the background helping with everything. I mentioned the free intercom this month. This is TechCom Week. It's our inaugural TechCom Week, and we're also offering intercom for free if you want to download it if you're not a member and already don't get it. So in reference to the article Susan mentioned, I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to look at that issue because it's a great issue of intercom. So I'll move on to Lisa.
I had put into the chat to follow up on Craig's great answer, cost and time. Again, going back to you as an individual, how much money do you have to put forward in this and how much time? Because oftentimes if you're trying to change careers or to figure out you need an additional skill, you got to figure out how to do that within the life that you have so you can get the life that you want. And cost and time are the big parts of that. And research will help with that and tapping your network. So just a minor extension to what Craig already said.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of opportunities too for scholarships and ways to help with cost, right? I mean, I've seen that STC certainly has a scholarship program. So research those avenues too. If something seems out of reach, there might be a way to apply for funding. Susan, on to you.
You know, really, in terms of research, in terms of adding to cost and time, I do think it's a matter of saying, what do I already do well? And what do I need some additional thought, some additional accountability to improve that skill set? Because sometimes, and I'll put this out there, occasionally when you're looking at an academic program and you're thinking, okay, I've got access to possibly a couple of options, you want to look at what those people do who teach in that program, especially at the undergraduate level. If you're going for a 4-course certification to add on to something you have, make sure that, number one, you can find out what they're doing in the courses. Certain departments might really load up on 1, 2, or 3 of STC's core competencies, but if they're not the ones you need the practice in, they're not going to be the return on your investment that you want. So look at the courses, look at the faculty, see if they have experience in technical communication, see if they've published in technical communication journals, see if, as Craig just put in the chat, see if there is an internship attached anywhere in that certification. In fact, we're working on a certificate and minor here at Ohio State where the primary difference would be 4 courses that focus on the STC competencies and a 5th course that would get you a minor that is in fact an internship with one of the many places you can get here in Columbus. So thinking about what you need as well as making sure you do your homework before you start, because there's nothing worse than starting even a short program and saying, I'm wasting my money and my time here.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. You don't want to just duplicate or repeat something you already know how to do. And I remember when I was working on my degree, one of the most beneficial things that came out of that was a real hands-on project that we did for a local dentist. Actually, we redid all of his documentation and information about his practice, and I got to put that on my resume. So looking for those kinds of programs I think are really smart. And I haven't heard any of you mention this yet, or if I did, I missed it, but I also think some of the tools vendors are offering certificates and things. So if there's some tool specific that you need to know for a job, it's pretty low cost and easy to get some training in that tool if you need it for a job. So I would recommend that as well. Okay, so I think I do want to mention that everyone's welcome to ask questions of the panelists. I'm trying to address those, and they are as they come up in the chat. But I wanted to give everybody a chance to talk to the panelists. That's what we're here for. If you do have a specific question, please feel free to ask it. Aaron, I realized I forgot to do the poll at the beginning of the session. I was so excited to talk to these people. So would you mind putting up the poll? Because I think it's interesting to see who's in the session today. And where they might be in their careers, et cetera. If you can do that now while we're looking for questions, et cetera. So I'll just give everybody a few minutes to answer the questions in our poll, which really give the panelists an idea of where you are and if you're a member or not, for example. And while we're doing that, why don't we do my fun question, which is, let's talk about all 3 of our panelists are STC members. Let's talk about your membership and what you think people can get the most out of it, or what you enjoy the most about your membership, or the benefit you enjoy the most. Lisa, you're smiling, so you're going to get to go first.
Yeah, I was smiling because not to give away how ridiculously old that I am, I've been an STC member since the mid-90s. And what I've gotten out of it has definitely changed as my career has changed and altered. You know, I didn't start as an academic. I worked as a full-time consultant for a long time in a lot of different industries. And so the one thing that's been consistent from STC is this idea of networking in a community. It's always been the place that I could go to get a question answered or to find people who were having the same sorts of problems or issues on their job. And that has been consistent as often as my career shifted and changed. It's always been just a community to where I could get the answers that I needed and just hang out and talk to smart people and learn cool things.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of people, that it's the networking and that STC is in particular a very friendly and safe place to share ideas and to find other people that are like-minded. So Craig, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on Lisa's thing. I wrote down networking and leadership opportunities for sure. And what Liz said about friendly community and STC is like our field is basically 2 degrees of separation. So, you know, if you don't know somebody and you meet somebody, you're likely to get an introduction, you know, through that person to somebody you want to meet. But yeah, I thought it was great because what I was saying before about, you know, you don't just become locked into the organization or the geography of your current position, that you can actually go out then and meet professionals that are interested in the things that you're interested in, doing the things you like to do or want to do. And you get to work with them on projects, you know, outside of your organization. So, I mean, great way to build your network, get more experience, but also you get to work on technical communication projects through whatever, volunteering or joining committees or being parts of communities that you wouldn't normally come in contact with if you know, you restrict your access to just your organization or just your academic program that you're in. Yeah, and you get to meet new people. There's lots of educational opportunities, you know, that STC has, webinars and short courses, which I think are a great way to brush up skills or test to see if you're interested in, like Leah had said before about webinars, a great way to test out your interest in a particular topic. Conferences, communities of interest are great things for new people. It's a great way to expose yourself to the larger profession and what other people are doing in the profession, and to learn more about different facets, different areas of the profession as well.
Yeah, and you've mentioned the conferences a couple times, and I think that's a really interesting and sort of short nugget, a way to expand both your network, but also find some other education at an event. And I'll mention that STC is having a conference this year, live, face-to-face in Chicago. So we're really excited to have that again this coming year in May. Susan, what's your favorite membership benefit and how do you use it?
You know, I got into this field because I became a web designer, and I'm going to betray my age on this. I became a web designer before we had graphical user interfaces for the web, when the web was all about just transmitting text. And one of the things, my career, basically, my full-time career has been more in academia, but with picking up technical writing, technical communication work on the side for nonprofits, work for hire, other sorts of things. And what I prize about STC, and through all the resources, whether it's the journals, whether it's networking, whether it's the body of knowledge, any of the resources, it allows me to make sure that I am not staling out in what I am doing, because one of my primary responsibilities is making sure I'm not teaching the technical communication today that I taught 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So being able to stay current, being able to be part of a professional community that has some connections to academia, but I get well outside my silo. And when we talk about networking in general, the biggest thing I find about networking, you've got to get outside your comfort zone to network. If you're comfortable with all your networked people, you're not in the right network because you start to become an echo chamber for each other. Get uncomfortable, get out there. And as Craig and Lisa both say, this is a safe space to do that. You will find support. You may find someone who says, "What are you talking about?" But we're going to say it in a really supportive way and help you think about it going forward.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. So the poll has been completed by everyone. And I think what's interesting is we have quite a diverse group here today. We have a lot of people who are brand new to STC or not members. And that's why we do these. We're trying to introduce you to the field and share some knowledge with you about what technical communication is. We have, a lot of different things people are interested in. Look at networking. Everybody's interested in that. So I'm glad we're doing a session coming up on networking. I think that'll be a great activity to do. And then the career level, it looks like we have a lot of people who are professionals or are transitioning, and we have that a lot. And I think a session like this today was really probably very helpful for people who may be transitioning into TechCom, because you may not need to go back for a full-on academic degree. Maybe you already have that foundation, but you may need to transition in with a few additional skills or learn about some additional skills. So I'm glad you attended. And then our last question is really about what you'd like to see in future panel discussions. So there's a lot of information there for us to suss through and decide what we're going to do. But we're doing these once a month, and it's always the last Monday of the month. And so we'll have other topics. If you have interests of other topics that you'd like to see us bring up, please email us at stc@stc.org and we can do that. If you have education you would like to see STC offering that we're not offering, email us at that address as well, and I'll make sure the education committee gets that information. And in the remaining time we have, which is about 20 minutes, I'll open it up to let other people ask our panelists questions, or for people to talk in the chat or come on camera if you'd like, so that you can, engage with each other and network. And Erin, I'll pass it back to you to show our final slides, because I think we do have some other slides we'd like to go through. So yes, so we have a contact us page. If you would like to write to me or Erin, please feel free to do so. We have all of our panelists' LinkedIn pages, so that they can, you can engage with them. Please feel free to network with them and be part of a conversation if you have other additional questions you want to ask them after the session is over. And we also have a web page for Slack. And then our upcoming panels are the network one that I've mentioned, and promoting a professional brand. And we're also going to have one in March on content strategy. I have had some other people suggest other topic areas. And so I think we're gonna have a very exciting year on this. We also have all of them up on our YouTube page that have already occurred. We had one on tools, we had one on finding jobs and resumes. So feel free to check out our recordings of these and see more about what we've been doing. So any questions for the panelists, or does anyone wanna just come on camera and say anything? And I want to thank my panelists too. Thank you so much for being here today and doing this with us. Hey, Leah.
Hi, I have a question if nobody else is jumping in. This is specifically for Craig, but anyone else can jump in. As one of the senior members of STC located outside of North America, how is the certification that you work with being accepted internationally? Do you see it getting any traction outside of the US and Canada?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. So 2 points I'll make. One of the first academic colleges that chose to incorporate the certification curriculum into their program was Seneca College out of Canada. So Beth Agnew works there, and I think she was spearheading that effort. Also, our certification partner is APMG International, which is actually out of the UK. So we have European connections for the program as well. And so it is promoted, as an international certification. So it has value outside of just the US because it's being adopted in programs outside of the US. And it's also been developed, in a country outside of the US in partnership with STC. So I expect to see that trend growing, in the years to come.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Liz, do you want to jump in?
I'll add a little bit to that. Also, based on the exams and the people taking the exams, we see a lot of international people who are interested in the exams and are passing and taking them. Estelle is on. She works for APMG. She just put a note in the chat. She's one of the people helping us market the program internationally. And there she is. Hey, Estelle. And so she could probably speak even more to how it's being adopted internationally, but we definitely are seeing uptick in that. And in addition, I also see CPTC being mentioned in job ads, which is where we wanted to get, right? So it became an established thing where we have, multiple levels and the program has grown. And now people are saying, oh, I think if I'm going to hire a technical communicator, I'd like to see them certified as preferred. So we are seeing that in job ads as well, both in the Americas and internationally. Estelle, do you want to come on and say hi?
Hi everyone, it's great to meet you. I feel like this is the best party going at this time. And Jenny, who's a returner to APMG, so she's quite new. I don't know how shy she's going to be, but she's sitting in the wings somewhere as well from APMG, and she's based in your neck of the woods, so not quite so much the time travel there, but yeah, we're definitely seeing global adoption, and it's an increase in popularity, certainly. And yeah, so fantastic to be here. If there's any other questions for us, Craig's our chief examiner as well, so it's great. And we've got lots and lots of activity and information going out with all the fantastic members from STC sharing their knowledge, so thank you.
Oops, I'm muted. Thank you, Estelle. Aaron, will you put up the slide about TechCom Week? Just for those of you who may not have heard about it, we are doing a week. It's our inaugural week of technical communication information. And Aaron's got a slide for us. This whole week, we're doing something live every single day. So this is our first panel today, where we have free downloads of both the journal and the magazine that STC publishes, so that if you want to get a taste of what we do, you can download that. We have resources each day. We have blog posts, videos, various pieces of content for you to watch and absorb from experts in the field. And we're doing a membership discount offer, which Aaron will mention at the very, very end. For those of you who've attended, if you're not a member, you can get a discount. And then finally, registering for the summit right now. If you register for the summit this period, we're doing a special deal where you can sign up for a free pre-conference session. It's a drawing for the people who register right now. And that's another great way of getting some education. You can take a mini course right before the conference, and get some hands-on experience while you're in Chicago. So again, I want to thank my panelists. I don't see a lot of other questions in the chat, so I'll let everyone have their day back and go about their business. And Aaron, I'll send it back to you. Thank you all for attending, and thank you panelists for being here with us today.